right, so my name is Rashmi and I am the editor with Commercial Design Magazine, and a warm welcome to each and every one of you joining us here today to this webinar that is titled Technologies Creating the Next Gen Workspaces. The entire conceptualization of this webinar and the panel discussion happened given the times we are in right now. We've seen technology having accelerated in equivalent to 10 years in just this past 1 year, and such a dynamic change in the way we work, in the way we interact with our surroundings, in the way the workplace interacts with its employees. So there is an immense change and shift that is happening in the workplace industry. And given this, we've got speakers from some of the biggest tech giants in the companies who are here to share their insights on how they are adapting to these changes, how their companies are implementing these changes, and how they are going about it. Now, before I go on to introduce my esteemed panel members, I'm going to quickly take in time to just give you all a brief introduction about the interface for the Zoom. So we have two tabs, particularly for the audience, which is the Q&A tab and the chat tab. Now, for all your questions directed to the speakers, please drop them only and only in the Q&A tab. I repeat again, all your questions for the speakers can be dropped particularly and only into the Q&A tab. Any issues with your chat, any issues with your audio, any issues with your connections that we can help with, please drop us and comment in the chat tab. My backend team is here with me to help you all through the issues. They will quickly address it, but for the speakers, any questions directed to the speakers needs to be dropped into the Q&A tab. These questions will only and only be taken at the end of the panel discussions. We will be running the panel discussions, say, until about 45 minutes to 15 minutes, and we have the Q&A session, which then will be Miss Mili will be taking on the questions from the audience for them. Now, to quickly introduce my dear and my most esteemed panel that I have with me here, to quickly take you through them, we have first joining with us Mr. Manish Bahl. He is the head of the Center of the Future of Work for Asia Pacific at Cognizant. He's responsible for developing original thought leadership content related to the future of work, workers, and workplace. His work and research provide an immense understanding of digital technologies and their impact on business, people, technologies, and culture. Like four of the pillars that is so important to each workplace that is being designed, being operated, in function today. Second, joining us today on this panel is Ms. Jagvinder Pinny Mann. She is the Senior Portfolio Manager for India Microsoft. Ms. Mann has an amazing career experience of over 25 years. She has delivered success for several blue chip companies like Microsoft, GE, Bank of America, Cadence, Bharti Enterprise, and now with Microsoft. Her strengths lie in evaluating real estate and market analysis to achieve the best for the organizations. She drives excellence by being a hands-on leader and a people's person and setting examples by walking her talk. I have seen her live. I have seen her in work. I have seen her with her team, and she is commendable at what she does. The details that she goes through, the things that draw her attention is absolutely brilliant. And it's great to have her on this board. The third member joining us here is Mr. Vikas Chawla. He is the India Operations Director and for Employee and Workplace Solutions at Adobe. Within career spanning over 27 years, Vikas has a diverse cross-functional experience in the areas of facility manager, facility management, general administration, and hospitality. He has headed organization-wide operations for some of the top tech companies in the country, and he's also currently the chair-elect for the India chapter of Cognizant Global. And he's also one person who I've seen so passionately being involved in every aspect of the industry development, be it with knowledge sharing, be it with the workshops, be it with understanding how development is happening and taking on to next level. With that, thank you so much, Vikas, for joining us here. We have also with us Mr. Bhupesh Arora, who is the head of buildings business, Schneider Electric. He currently acts as the business head for the digital energy division, where he commands an army of dedicated team, giving customers and holistic digital experiences for their workplace solutions, from driving business in low voltage systems to leading automations, then renewable solutions. Bhupesh is the man who has seen it all, managed it all, and done it all in his 24 years career. And with that, someone who comes so immensely from an technological background. He has interacted with so many companies, so many individuals, and seen the industry through this transformation of this entire digital transformation, especially heading the business division of digital energy. It is great to have Bhupesh and his knowledge here on this platform. We also have with us Miss Mili Majumdar, who is the managing director at GBCI India. She is not only just the panel member here, but she's also the director of this panel discussion, and she's also the vice president for USGBC. In her current role, Mili is responsible for the technical adaptation and customization of the portfolio of rating systems for GBCI for Asia Pacific region. She has more than 2 decades of experience in the field of energy and environment with a focus on sustainable development of habitats. She has led a team of professionals to develop a portfolio of green rating systems for habitats that have been widely accepted in India. And she is one person who's been consulting several companies into, like, obviously sustainability, but now also in the technological aspect. And I couldn't have had a more perfect moderator for us in this panel discussion to take this heavyweight panel members onto this through this entire panel discussion. With this, Mili, I am going to hand it over to you to take on your panel discussion, and I'm going to give the floor to you. Miss Mili, over to you.
Good morning and a very, very warm welcome to all our esteemed panelists and the audience for this panel discussion. You know, it's a strange world now. We don't see each other, but we communicate seamlessly. And the power of technology has helped us to achieve this, you know, means of communication and staying connected. So the power of technology cannot be ignored at all. And as as I come purely from the sustainability space, all of us here, we know for sure that sustainability has been the buzzword in all our communication, you know, as we are kind of battling different kind of challenges to move towards to achieve, you know, success in the present world. And in creating workspaces also, sustainability has remained the buzzword till now, unless the pandemic caught us unaware completely. One fine morning, we were all locked down. So now, as we are contemplating, you know, with help of our medical fraternity to go back to our workspaces to resume the new normal, as we call it now, and restarting working from office or in a hybrid mode where our homes also double up to function as offices. The next gen workspaces need to have more attributes in addition to sustainability, which I feel, which is resiliency, wellness, and also equity. So need for technology, you know, driven workspaces in forms of touchless remote operations with seamless connectivity, bridging gender gaps, enabling future ready operations, ensuring health and productivity of people, in addition to being mindful of the efficiency on operations, are the new things that we need to look forward to. And we also know that technology is there to support us and to help us to achieve, you know, this objective. IoT connected smart technologies in a building, from HVAC systems to security systems that can be controlled by cutting edge digital solutions and software, powered by green electricity, is also some of the, is the new thing that we are looking forward to. And I couldn't have had a better panel to help us guide through the new normal and, give us cues into how we can make our next gen workspaces future ready. So with this, and so in this discussion, we are going to talk about the most apparent changes that you are going to foresee in the office building for next gen and as we open up, and how technology is able to aid this transformation, and the impact of pandemic. It will be also good to see that while we had a set of KPIs for all the operations, how does the KPIs change, and how do the KPIs change with the evolving needs, and how digital technologies are going to enable managing facilities and operations, and the new critical factor that corporations shall consider while planning their future operations and new campuses in the way forward. So I would first, request my first panelist, Manish ji, Manish Bahl, who heads up the future of work at Cognizant. Manish ji, it will be good, and also since you head up the Asia Pacific operations, in your talk, we would also like to hear about maybe geographically if things are different, but definitely, on since you are leading collaboration between an intersection between research, academics, and technologies. So what are those new aspects that you're bringing in, to the workspaces to make it future ready?
Thanks, Mili. Glad to be part of this discussion. So at the Center for the Future of Work, we have been trying to visualize how exactly, these future workplaces, the future offices are going to look like. And we believe the return to office shouldn't be considered as a return to old ways of going to the office, that you will again start spending hours in commuting to reach to your, desk. So COVID-19 has shown that the heads down work, what we call it. So the heads down work is all about typing, coding, form filling, sitting in front of your laptop and getting the work done. So that kind of a work can be done from anywhere. So the idea that the white collar work must be done in a cubicle in an office block an hour away from home is strictly not true anymore. And at the same time, the heads up work, what we call it, which means the innovation, the collaboration, so that kind of a work is still best done face to face. So in the future, an office will play three roles. One, a showroom. A showroom means that to impress clients, prospects, media, and analysts that, yes, we have been doing some great work. And the second is going to be the R&D lab, where the secret sauce is cooked, right? All the innovation that is going to happen. And then a party space, the monthly local, social, collaborative gatherings to develop the culture, the network, and the bond among employees. Still, there is no substitute for being in the room when we want to create, collaborate, and, close. So the office is not dead. I'm not saying that the office is dead. Definitely, office is not dead, but the notion of going to physical office for work will surely change. And also something that you highlighted, initially, Mili, companies will have to ensure not only the physical well-being, but also the mental well-being of their employees. Organizations will need to design maybe new jobs of the future, with a thought towards safeguarding and strengthening their most valued assets, and that is the minds of their employees. So we believe new roles, new jobs will emerge in the future, from chief purpose planners defining the employee experience to AI-assisted healthcare technicians using real-time biometric data, from wearables. So organizations will need to start thinking not only the physical, aspect when it comes to the mental well-being, but also creating new roles, new jobs that will shape the future of, workplaces.
Thanks, Manish. So you highlighted a very key concept that there are the concept of heads down and heads up work, where maybe we need to distinguish, and we cannot do away with collaboration because that is key to innovation. But the everyday work of filling forms, etc., can be done sitting at home. We don't need to commute also to workplaces. So wonderful, so we'll come back to you again to discuss it further. So Jagvinder ji, a warm welcome to the show, and you have got multiple have experience of working with multiple organization, and you have been leading multiple portfolios. So how have you, in your journey thus far, how have you seen the corporate real estate evolving? And Microsoft has been also increasing its footprint in India amidst the pandemic. That's we know for sure, compared to pre-pandemic situation. So what is it that you are doing differently, and what is new? Would you like to also add to what, Manish spoke about, and something, more innovative, and what we can learn from each other?
Thank you, Rashmi, for having us on this panel discussion. It's a burning topic on top of everyone's mind. What's going to happen? What's the future? I do recall when somebody said hybrid workplace, and I said, can you define that? And there's no definition. Everybody has a different definition for hybrid workplace, what we are going to do. I think as a real estate or corporate real estate person, I would say it's a wait and watch game. We will have to see how it pans out. Yes, technology is the king. We all have to adapt to the new ways of work. And we've seen that. I mean, a lockdown showed that every work could be done from home or from elsewhere and not really focused. You have to come to work to the office. And I think Manish also touched upon that there will be different streams of work that can be done in different locations. But I am a firm believer real estate is not dead. It's a place that will grow, and we will see it evolve over the years. How it will evolve will be different for every organization. So let me take your question where you said, yes, Microsoft's growing. Well, Asia is the market. We are lucky to be here at this point of time. There is growth here, and it is going to keep growing. I always say the brains are here, and they take all the ideas across the oceans. So how are we looking at it? I will put it in two buckets. One is research. And how are we looking at safety and health, wellness? As Manish also pointed out, those are going to be some of the key factors. New safety protocols and intelligent monitoring of health of our entire organization is going to drive the data driven decisions. I think that's the key to it. Not just using technology for the sake of technology. I mean, someone can say, yeah, I have so much data, but what are you doing with that data? Is it of any value? Just sticking sensors on every chair or on every table just to figure out whether it's used or not, is it really valuable? Is that the way we want to go? We'll all have to think. I don't have a right or wrong answer for that. And I'm a firm believer of research. I think research drives a lot of our thinking. We've done a lot of research globally and research Asia, and then zeroed into India. As you alluded to the point that there's growth happening in India. So we wanted to understand how the next Gen Z is thinking about workplace after the pandemic. They are still in universities or starting out, or very young minds. What are they thinking? How are they thinking they want to work, and what are they going to be their choices? Are they going to just look at a brand? Are they just going to look at a paycheck? Or what are their concerns? And all of them, everybody, every research is pointing onto safety and wellness, values of an organization, how valued they're going to feel. It could be a small organization, it could be a large organization. So that's what is going to really evolve the real estate teams to think, how do they attract and retain this talent? And how do we build our spaces to attract? And, we alluded to that, yeah, it'd be a showcase space. Yes, technology companies like Microsoft, where I work, they have to showcase their technology. But are they able to attract and retain talent? What more will they have to do? So we'll really have to delve into the details of that. I feel wellness and safety are going to be your prime key focus points as we take this forward, Mili.
I think you have, kind of pointed out two very, very couple of critical cross-cutting issues. One is that we are talking about next-gen and hybrid workplaces, where we are also shifting, our area of operation to homes also partly. So which means that will have an impact on the commercial real estate, which is one of the main, revenue generator and contributors to the GDP of the country. So we cannot we have to be mindful of the real estate space, but we need to see how it needs to adapt and evolve. So that we cannot do away with commercial real estate space. That is point number one. The second very important part is, what is the next gen thinking? We are there to support, but what is it they're thinking? And very importantly, healthy minds, healthy people are more productive, and you can churn out more innovation from minds who are mentally, kind of intuitive, and they are mentally well to take our future ahead. And the other thing which which I could get from what you said is that we should not have a data overload. Too much of data can also kind of lead to data confusion, and we may not cull out the necessary data. So I think very, very critical points, takeaways from what you said. So and thanks, Jagvinder. We will come back again to you for the next round of questions. So Vikas ji, so you lead again, Adobe operations, and you have been seeing, you are also part of this changing requirements. So what are the new trends that you are trying to adapt to? And what is it that you can add to this conversation? Would like to hear from you.
Now, good morning to all my fellow panelists and the audience here. And thanks to Commercial Design for giving me this opportunity to be on this platform. So, Mili, just taking from your point what you mentioned about healthy buildings, that is now most of us talk about. And last year, I was fortunate enough to be attending a program with Harvard, and where we had a session dedicated to healthy buildings. And it'll be great to share my insights. The key thing which came out of that session is that in case we were to enhance 1% of our maintenance budget to ensure better ventilation and quality of air within our facilities, the studies have proven that it goes on to enhance the productivity anywhere between a 6 to a 10%. When we talk about a productivity, it has been measured in quantifiable terms as per the number of people falling sick, the number of leaves being taken by the employees, and they turning up now proactively and responding to the various situations within the organization. So how we are adapting ourselves at Adobe within this given scenario, what we all find ourselves in, let's understand that we are in the second wave of pandemic now and still some way away. But there are organizations which we are all part of. We all work for global organizations having our headquarters across the globe. And as we see US offices are opening, the leaders there are very keen for people to come back to work. Why we want people to come back to work is because the kind of collaboration, the kind of interactions which happen at the workplace are unparalleled. Now, how do we as facility managers or real estate managers ensure that we get the people back to work? Because today, the people are in that habit which they have got used to over the last 14 to 15 months, like now mixing their personal and work schedules, the ease of not traveling to offices, being flexible in their approach. But yes, deliveries are happening, productivity is not being impacted for now. But is it going to stay in the long run, or is there something else which we are missing at this moment? That is something. And then getting back to work is something the key. So what we are trying to ensure is how do we get an atmosphere or experience for the employees, as Manish and Pinny also touched upon it. Health, well-being, and safety will be the key factors which will determine that. And then what we are trying from our bit is creating more areas which are open, creating more facilities where we can give the employees that kind of experience. Something like we are planning our new campus, and we are making it a mandate that it has got to have a jogging track. It has got to have some open play areas like a basketball court or maybe a volleyball court, all those kind of things, so that people can take those breaks in between work and rejuvenate themselves and come back. Within the existing facilities, what we are trying to do is The high traffic areas, we have gone about installing the PHI filter cells which are there. Those are the PHI now filters which emit ions, and then those kill the bacteria and the microbes which are there in the air or on the surface. We have also gone about and done this within our cafeterias and gyms, which are the high traffic areas. Then we are also looking at installing these nanofilms. These are the films which again emit those ions when they come in touch with the surface or humidity. So that, and these have been used now over the years across high traffic areas, something like the airports and all, and have been very well received across where there are chances of contamination. So these are the few of the innovations and technologies we are getting into our workplace, but the focus remains on the well-being, health, and safety of the employees.
So are you talking about use of these nano films for the high-touch surfaces, or so what's
so the high-touch services, something like now your cafe machines at the pantry, your washroom door handles, your hand railings on the staircases, because we are encouraging people, if they have to travel now, maybe just one floor or two floors, use a staircase rather than using an elevator.
So, you point out this very important aspect. So just to connect everyone together, that when we are talking about health, safety, and wellness, so all of these aspects, I mean, though maybe not explicitly talking about this, that, taking the stairs up. So this is also something that leads to wellness, right? The physical and the mental active.
Absolutely.
So, and also there are concepts of, and often what happens is the staircase, sorry, I'm shifting a little bit just to make this conversation more interesting. We find the staircase is not accessible to us. It's not visible to us. So when you're talking about wellness in workspaces, the staircases should be visible, and then you can walk up and down to that. And if you combine it with high touch surfaces, then you make it safe. So there are these innovative concepts which can, kind of attribute to making workspaces more healthy, and in turn have productive people inside. And also, I think you pointed out a very important aspect is quantifying wellness, and setting aside budgets for upkeep of the buildings to make it more healthier. So this is also very critical. I feel going forward, as a part of our maintenance budget, we need to assign the budgets for upkeep of the buildings to make it healthier. We often find, we have done several studies to find that the air handling units or the filtration systems, they are not maintained well, right? The filters are choked and the PM levels go up. And maybe, from where you're taking the outdoor air inside, that may be polluted because external environment is also equally polluted. So there are so many things that need to twine together to have this healthier workspaces, and these KPIs of productivity is also very critical. Number of leaves taken as you take it, then you can really see it, number of visits to the doctor, sleep cycle, etc. So there are so many things that can be added to the KPI. So thanks for pointing these things out. So I would now go to my final panelist, which is Bhupesh ji from Schneider Electric, and you have been at the forefront of leading multiple innovations in this piece and make work, use of technology to make it easier for people to adapt to changes. So what is it that you are, from the building technology, being a building technology provider, what do you see your, business lines changing or new products coming to help, maybe Cognizant, Adobe, and Microsoft and other organizations to move towards the next gen work?
Good morning to all my fellow panelists and the audience. So I think as I captured some of the points from all my panelists, they were talking about the new normal situation. I think host of data which is coming from the assets, which is unmanageable, and we were talking about the air quality. As a technology player, I think we have been advocating the digitization of all these workplaces and buildings and creating workplace for the future since many years. But we can put this on the pandemic, which has accelerated all these things now. I think the contactless operations to the virtual working environment, currently working from home, or creating the workplaces which meets the requirement of well-being of employees and the facilities the way it is managed. I think every opportunity created is coming out of a situation or problem. So this pandemic is a problem, and this is creating an opportunity for accelerated digitization, the way we create our workplaces. So from Schneider, I think we have been talking all these kind of integrated building architectures, the digitization and well-being of the employees. Air quality is a very important point which Vikas just now raised. I think we are working in an environment when we create a building and we do a reactive maintenance. All these maintenance or air quality management is done in a reactive way. We are moving from reactive to predictive and proactive maintenance. So it's condition-based maintenance. You need to know the conditions of the system well in advance so that you are able to work on it before it goes to a failure or a situation when it starts affecting the well-being of the employees. The new millennials are more keen to see how the workplaces will look like or how they will give them safety or an environment in which they work. I think brand used to be a very big thing for all these millennials, but I agree with Pinny when she was talking. I think they will look for many more things as they head towards an environment to work upon. So they'll be more concerned what is the CO2 level or the noise level in an environment, or how much open space we are going to create for people as we create our new workplaces. I think we used to talk about per square feet area per head count when we used to create these workplaces, but I think the new normal will take us away from that per square feet area to the more open areas and how digitized they are. Imagine a situation when an employee has to start from his home. He's able to block a car parking space in a building which he's struggling today to find a place, because I think we work in some large buildings where we have 3-4 floors of parking space, but sometimes employees struggle to find a place which is there. The digitization will lead to that kind of a situation that they will be able to block a parking space before entering an office. They will be able to block their workstation, which is a virtual workstation. I think everyone is moving towards that environment. There are no fixed workplaces, and I think they need a workstation which is available to them for a defined period of time. And it is directly linked to a housekeeping service, whether that workspace is maintained or not maintained. Going back to the occupancy, I think even pre-pandemic also we were witnessing a situation. The demand for real estate was created by businesses, but we were not really very sure whether we need to add more assets or we need to utilize these through an efficiency. The digitization will drive these kind of efficiencies coming out of these kind of applications. The sensors, Pinny, which you were talking on the workplaces, will not only tell whether the workplaces are only available to be occupied, but they can tell you, are you occupying 30% space of your office or you're using 70% space of your office? And how do you drive your efficiencies? Because you can open only workspaces which are driving that efficiencies, and 30% of the workplace can be shut down for all electricity or HVAC, which is another big cost in any corporate which is there. The next big thing is the integration of all our workplaces. I think today we are creating standalone workplaces, but I think integration of all these workplaces is going to be really very, very important. You need to have a central command center wherein you are able to visualize the health of the buildings while you focus on individual assets, which is really very, very important. So I think the technology is leading to that kind of a situation. An integrated, open, interoperable platform is really very, very important, which helps the facility managers as well as the employees to have the full visibility of the assets in which they are working. So we at Schneider Electric are continuously working and driving all these kind of technologies which help the workplace management to be more efficient and more sustainable for the well-being of the people also.
Thanks for Bhupesh for highlighting these very key concepts, that how as a technology provider, you are trying to provide this integrated, kind of services and offerings. So you brought out, quite a few critical aspects to this conversation. That is that integrated approach, right? So how do you manage workplaces? And very importantly, you said reactive versus proactive maintenance. I mean, we always react, right? So think the whole issue about pandemic, we are reacting. Even when the second wave struck us, we reacted. But if you look at some other countries, they were proactive in putting up the health infrastructure rather than infrastructure. So the pandemic has taught us that we have to be more proactive in our approach than being reactive. And, to what Jagvinder said, about data. So if you are able to capture data, so the data should be able to give us enough cues into proactive maintenance. I'm sure, you will evolve the technologies that we are able to anticipate based on, next gen behavior needs, and provide anticipatory and proactive ways of providing next gen workspaces. And it's very clear from all of your conversations that health, well-being, safety, these are the critical drivers and key components of the KPIs that we spoke about in the next gen workspaces. And you also mentioned a very important concept of the circularity, the circular economy concept that we are trying to bring in into the whole conversation of sustainability. That workplace, do we need to create one like place for every person, every employee, or is it possible to have adaptive workspaces, collaborative workspaces, repurposable workspaces? Then those workspaces also has to be adaptable to the person, rotating people. So I think it's a very complex space, but we are all, as technology leaders, I think well empowered and well provisioned to provide this for the next gen. So thank you for the first round of, kind of your inputs. Now, I think we have a little time constraint, so I possibly will not have the time to go through the next round of, full round of question. But quickly, Manish, coming back to you, what kind of, technology, innovation or digitization that you're looking in Cognizant to bring about this next gen, this change in the workplace? If you can just highlight a few things, then we will have a quick round with everyone, all our speakers.
We
Yes,
published this very interesting new research, Green Rush, an
Mhm.
economic imperative for sustainability, which is available in the public domain to download, for the audience. So our research indicates a shift from sustainable business practices as a moral imperative to an economic imperative, right? It's going to happen very, very soon. We have arrived at a point where businesses should regard green initiatives not as red, which means a cost on the balance sheet, but as green, which means it could be a money-making opportunity. So sustainability strategies will grow in importance in the next, 4 to 5 years, definitely yes. And from technology standpoint, we found nearly 80% of companies we surveyed, they listed environmental sensors and IoT as important or very important to meeting their sustainability goals. And smart grids and AI is also coming up, very, very fast. So smart grids, AI, and IoT, when used in combination, these technologies can yield powerful results. So it's not just about putting technology, but ensuring that the business purpose is solved by leveraging these technologies is extremely important.
Excellent. So mindful technology, be environment sustainability, and integrate these factors. And I'm sure, ESG investing, and that is one of the bottom line for all the businesses. And you are probably trying to kind of quantify that through different measures. So thanks, Manish. Quickly to you, Jagvinder. Of course, a pandemic has impacted the ways the facilities are being operated and handled. In what areas of facility management do you see pandemic has accelerated the digitization, and do you think it is bringing positive impact on the overall efficiency of the facilities?
I think, as I said earlier, I think we really have to rethink how we manage our facilities, what services we are rendering to our clients, and how they perceive that service. So I'll quickly put it into a life cycle design. And it is actually from the mood, from a soft perspective, to the end day, how productive you are. And what is in between? Is it we or me time? What kind of space are we creating? Is it for collaboration, or is it just for my heads down work? How do I need to create that space? Of course, the environment indoors and outdoors has to be kept. There's no going away from the wellness factor, which all of us have spoken about, is actually going to be ruling. And I think the day of experience. So you start from home to the time you get back home. How seamless is it? How touchless is it? How technology is supporting you? Like, we said that your car park is already booked for you. Your room for your meeting is already there. You have already ordered your lunch. You already have your guest list. People are there to get your meeting started. How is technology supporting you to have that seamless experience through the whole day of your work? I think those are going to be the asks, and how we integrate, coming back to how do you integrate everything from a building management perspective to the user perspective to your data collection. I think all that will roll into it.
So, you are talking about very importantly life cycle thinking, that what you are putting in and what is the outcome. Finally, you are trying to have better, healthier people in productive workplaces. So how do you make that happen seamlessly without, kind of disrupting the flow of people's way of work? So, and V time to me time, how that is also getting seamless. So very, very, crucial concepts I think all of us should keep in mind. So Vikas ji, we have seen that achieving efficiency has been pretty tough in the last 1.5 years. And how have you adopted smart technologies? You spoke about some, but would you like to highlight some others that you remain high on the sustainability and, the wellness portion for your employees?
So I'll just like to point out now a few good practices which we are following at Adobe. So when all this started, we were now getting to understand from people that the time in front of the system and the way the meetings were being conducted, there was a blurred line between now work and your personal life. So what we started is those small sessions of say 5 to 10 minutes at the start of each meeting, depending upon the various, because we have now the team of nutritionists, dietitian, agronomists who are there. So giving those tips, like agronomics coming and telling you what are the various things you should adopt while you are working during the course of the day, what are the do's and don'ts, what are the various kind of exercises or stretches you can do. That helped people very well. Then the nutritious talking about then when you are at home, you have a tendency of munching too much of going grabbing whatever is available. What is a healthy snacking? What is a healthy meal? All those aspects which we were all experiencing it, that we were sitting just on that chair, we were becoming couch potatoes. So all those things on the wellness front. Then what we also ensured is that we all understood that while we are spending this time in front of the system, the family was being ignored, and they were understanding now that yes, there are demands of work, but then there were certain pressures as well. So how do we get the family into picture? Organizing certain events now, which can be a kind of a stress buster, maybe some activity for kids over the weekends, or we also organize some cookery shows through our in-house teams of chefs based upon the feedback and survey. As Pinny mentioned, our data collection is very critical. What the people want to do while they are at home, what is the kind of things they are missing. We understood they are missing the food at the cafe. Then what are the kind of things they would want us to curate for them. So those are the experiences we created for them, and they were received very well. Then we have this family day, or we call it as the Adobe field trip, which is a very marquee event for us, and we have most of the employees turning up. This year we organized it virtually, but then how do we keep the audience engrossed? What are the timings we need to have it? So we created a microsite for them. Again, ensuring that those sessions are available, recorded, and the people are able to see that. So that was all possible with the in-house technology and platforms which we created for our employees. And they were, again, very, very well received. Similarly, we leveraged the technology by creating the kind of systems and processes during the RT-PCR camps we organized when the second wave of COVID was there, or the vaccination drives which we conducted for our employees. I can't tell you, the social media is flooded with it, and the employees, the kind of experience they have got. And most of the corporates who have organized these camps now have been getting similar reviews about it, that far better than any hospital or any healthcare partner. Absolutely. So those were the kind of things now which really touched the chord and have been received very well by the employees. So I feel those will be the things which will have to be kept in mind while we plan our future, because again, as we have emphasized enough upon it, health, wellness, and safety, these are the key parameters. Absolutely. And will play a paramount role how we define the future of our workplace.
for comments from you. Now we have heard from everyone that we are talking about an inclusive environment, right? We are talking about adding the human aspects, the emotional, aspect of bringing about this work-life balance into this whole conversation and making it an inclusive development. So now we heard about digitization, enabling technology. So how do you think technology and AI in the future can help us to move, to move this important aspect also forward in the next gen workplaces? Do you have any suggestions for that? Where you are able to bring, people, their minds, family, health requirements all together to move forward?
I think technology, AI, and machine learning, everything is going to bring and accelerate these things for people working in these kind of workplaces. We are already working on a lot of such evolutions, primarily, I think, driving a single application which will help the employees to drive. Again, we started with the car parking example, integration of the lift, because today people are even afraid to touch a button of the lift in the current situation. So I think that's also going to be getting integrated. The access to your office or the place where you work is important, which is there. And from there, going ahead with even the housekeeping needs also. I think nobody would like to call a person in place to have those kind of housekeeping services. Again, through your phone, a barcode scanning will drive all these kind of things. But I think everything getting integrated into a single application, driving the well-being aspects of the new workplaces is really very, very important, because on one side we are driving the sustainability through efficiencies, clean energies, and integration of all these kind of things. But employee well-being will remain on the paramount of any such creation which is going to be there. And we are leading that piece by creating, because we know the energy very well, we know the digitization now very well. We are mixing both energy and digitization knowledge to create an environment which helps these facilities to be managed well in a sustainable way, achieving the efficiencies what they intend to achieve as a part of their corporate goals, which is also one of an important aspect of any organization, while creating a similar environment for the people which are going to work in these places, having those kind of digital seamless experience. Just adding to some more examples, like tuck shops of offices are also getting digitized. Nobody would like to go physically visit. I think digitally, again, they will be managed, the payment gateways integrated, and even the third party things which we are not experiencing today, like the local transportation, Olas and Ubers, just giving an example, the local transportation services. And then a lot of these IT companies, I think they are doing a very strong security mapping for the employees who are traveling from point to point, from their home to office and back to home. So getting everything integrated into a single application. Another thing which is being created is the distance mapping also. I think people are afraid of that 6 meter or 4 meter kind of a distance. Your phone will act as a distance alarm to you. Eventually, when you are in a workplace, you are too close or too far kind of a thing. The moment you are too close, if we want to embed that environment, I think that is also possible, and we are already working in these kind of directions. So I think bringing everything in will drive the new future for our workplaces.
So, we are looking forward to all the solutions. So thank you everyone, for your time. And so we have a little bit time left for questions. And I know, Jagvinder, you have a hard stop. So I will first request you to answer the question, that is directed specifically to you. So how do you think smart workplace solutions are going to prove huge benefits, are going to provide benefits in terms of the return on investment for the corporates in the long run? So what is the investment that you are making, and how do you see it paying off for you?
Really, return of investment at this point, I think, should be parked, because we always drive our thinking with cost, and there is really no cost to health. Absolutely. And the value that you get from cost, health, versus productivity, is, I don't think you can equal each of those. So at this point of time, I would think that a very thoughtful way going forward, no radical changes are we making. Like I started with, what is the definition of hybrid? Really, there's no defined one definition for hybrid. Everyone has to think of it differently. And how do we then, for a year or two, actually evaluate this whole thinking And maybe 2 years down the line, if we come back to discuss what really was worth it, what we did not need to do, and what are must haves. And I can bet that must haves will be, your air quality, a seamless experience, wellness programs like Vikas alluded, nutrition, uh, health. Those are given. I mean, we can't go away from those. But really, do we really want to restructure our whole space? Do we want to redefine our guidelines of design and concept? I'm not too sure that will happen very soon. And as my organization, we are not going to take steps like that. We're going to wait and watch, see how the employees think about it. And maybe we are very early in that stage of thinking. We just want to take a pause at this moment and then come back with some firm decisions, firm planning, and then relook at our space types. And then, of
Excellent.
course, the CapEx and OpEx will play their roles.
We always talk about ROI, but we have lost so many people, so many friends, relatives, parents, siblings in the pandemic. So how can you put a price on lives? So it's a very, very powerful statement, Jagvinder, that you've made. So I think in this whole conversation, we should put health as the, as the key point and the focal point, and life is priceless. So thank you so much. I know you have to drop off. So thank you so much for your contribution, and please feel free to drop off whenever your time. You have.
Thank you very much, and thanks Rashmi, and thanks everyone for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. We continue the discussion. Vikas ji, we know adoption of digital technology is a costly affair. Coming back again to the same conversation. So how do you decide on feasibility of adapting the new technology in your facilities? Like, do you have a budget for it? Are you setting aside something based on your your study, etc., or how are you moving forward to plan for the future?
As Pinny said that there cannot be any cost or something you can put in quantifiable terms, because there are a lot of intangible gains. When we talk about intangible gains, it is in the terms of productivity or maybe the kind of experience you are creating for your employees, which goes a long way. And your brand value as an organization, which gets created to attract and retain that kind of talent, that is paramount. So when we decide about making our workplaces smarter and having those funds on technology, yes, we evaluate what are the existing trends or what could be the future needs and requirements of our employees. And as is norm with all the projects, we do a test run or a dry run for something small size of a facility and see how it works out there.
So you pilot it and then you kind of gain experience and you kind of report. So I think that makes sense. And also sometimes, rather than putting your full investment in something that is not tested out, that can be, a redundant thing, which later on it will take. I think. So thank you. I'll, if time permits, I'll come back to you again. So Manish, a question for you. With so many systems and subsystems running in the buildings, huge amount of data is flowing across. How do you handle security and data breach aspects in the facilities?
So that's an important question, right? So for that, I think we need to ensure the data supply chain, which is consistent, right? From, what all systems that are generating data, how you are collecting that data. And it's not just you are collecting the data, but how you are analyzing it. So that's why establishing, a consistent, a holistic data supply chain is extremely important. And to your point on, cybersecurity, right? That is increasingly becoming an issue for organization, because we are heading towards a machine versus machine war, right? Even bad guys, they also have an access to artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms, right? So the future attacks are going to be machines driven. Okay, you will not see humans taking part in those attacks. So what does it mean? It means that fighting back requires an intelligent machine that can detect threats, proactively, identify malware, reconfigure network traffic to avoid attacks. So inform, automated software to close vulnerabilities before they are actually exploited, right? So definitely yes, right? It is increasingly becoming important for organizations to leverage AI as part of their cybersecurity strategy, because any cybersecurity strategy without AI will be more prone to cyber attacks.
So that's very critical, when as we are moving towards more technology oriented, kind of workplaces, cybersecurity is very, very critical because of course, people can misuse data. So Bhupesh, coming to you finally on this, we know, as a technology provider, how do you ensure safety and more importantly, the cybersecurity aspect to your solutions, specifically on the cloud-based services?
I think it's an important topic, which is there on cybersecurity and the safety. So all the equipments what we are creating, all the solutions we are creating are primarily worked upon in a way keeping future in mind. And cybersecurity is one of the core element which we are embedding into all the technologies, whatever we are creating. So whether it's a product or a software-based solutions, I think they are created on the highest level of platforms, meeting the cybersecurity norms of the local economies and the countries. However, cybersecurity norms itself are changing. So we are keeping a pace of that situation, the way it is evolving. A lot of countries are coming up with new cybersecurity laws, primarily across the sectors, the way it is used, the way equipments are embedded into the infrastructure, it is important. So at Schneider, I think we are cognizant of that situation, and we are embedding all the necessary steps to keep the systems, softwares fully cyber secure and on a platform which are safe for the environment and for the users as well.
Excellent. So thank you. I think we are just 1 minute left. I'll hand it over to Rashmi. But before that, thank you, panelists. We'll have a virtual round of applause for all. And for your excellent, kind of comments and insights into how we are looking to the next gen workplaces. So I have a few key takeaways that we are looking to go back to our work, but we have to make some changes. That certain things which now we know we can do from home, but we need to be collaborative. But yes, safety has to be maintained. And so we are talking about hybrid workplaces. We are not going to talk about return on investment because health is crucial. At this point in time, we will have the safety protocols. We will leverage technologies, but we'll ensure that data is not misutilized. And definitely as KPIs, in addition to sustainability, we are going to look at inclusive workspaces, healthier, safer workplaces, and digitization is the key, and use it safely. So thank you very much, and over to you, Rashmi.
Thank you so much, Mili ma'am. That was phenomenal. My WhatsApp is literally flooded with messages from the industry members as to how the discussion went, the points that you already raised up, the points that the speakers brought up. Even despite our questions being so they brought in so much of their knowledge and insights into this. Literally, I was just I have my laptop open aside and I've been just replying to all the messages that have been pouring in. In fact, there have been also a lot of Q&As. I was also messaging because there's a lot of questions that have been directed towards each of the members of the panel, which we could not take. And these are some really pertaining questions. I'm so amazed that we've got these. We literally just took about 3 or 4 questions of the entire lot that came in. But honestly, it was so amazing and it was so great. And Mili ma'am, you did an absolutely fabulous job. You took in each point, you took the crux of the matter, you brought it forward and you've dealt with it. So you just entwined the entire panel discussion together. Mr. Bhupesh, thank you so much for being with us here today. It was phenomenal, the point that you brought in also about how Schneider is going about the entire technological transformation and how y'all are dealing it with the companies. Because like I told you, I'm definitely going to harass you even after this panel discussion, because there are so many questions for you. So I'm just going to take your time further on to from this. Ms. Pinny and Manish left, but honestly, thank you so much. So we are going to quickly conclude the panel here. Like I said, members, your questions I know haven't been answered, all of them, and some of them are brilliant questions put forward. What I'm going to do is I'm going to personally write to each of the speakers. I'm going to see if I can get their inputs on this, and we shall mail across this entire Q&A as an FAQ or something across to each of the attendees that were here today. Thank you so much for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.